Hey, how's it going, everybody? I am so excited to be here with my fellow panelists for Inbox on the Rocks. We are here for an email teardown of sorts. We're going to be looking at a few community submitted emails, talking about what we think of the design, use of data, accessibility, where they fit into the customer lifecycle in a very kind and constructive way. There will be no hating on emails. Please respect one another. If you're in the chat, say kind things. And potentially, if the marketer is in the room, be aware of that instead of making them feel bad if you think something is not good. Um, yes, Leanna, this is a reminder just for you. Thank you very much for acknowledging that. Let's get some introductions going. So speaking of Leanna, why don't I pass it over to you to introduce yourself? Why are you here today?
Why are we all here, Naomi? why does any of us exist? That's too existential for a Friday. I'm a copywriter. I write emails. I have opinions about emails. Sometimes those opinions are mean, but not today. And I'm on a personal mission to make every email fun and joyful and funny when appropriate, which is like 99% of the time. So that's why I'm here.
I've seen Leanna speak at conferences multiple times, and it's like attending a in-person stand-up comedian show. You're one of my favorite speakers. So thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm excited to laugh with you and at you. With that, I'll pass it over to Dylan. Introduce yourself.
Hey folks, Dylan Nuanis. I'm the Director of Lifecycle and Retention at ClickUp. I've been in email now. I was actually doing an interview with somebody else earlier today, and he told me for 10 years, he was looking at my resume, so I guess it's been 10 years, which is crazy. Started as like a designer developer, and now I'm leading teams of email marketing at ClickUp. Our mission is to make the world more productive, and my mission at ClickUp is to make our users more productive by educating them about how to use ClickUp and the best ways for their use cases.
That's great. I love that. A master educator of sorts via owned marketing channels, one would say. And Jessa, I'll pass it over to you now.
Hello, I'm Jessa Moon. I am a freelance designer and developer specializing in email. And my passion for email revolves around bridging the gap between design and development and in ways that can make email production more efficient. Yeah, I guess that sums it up.
Amazing. Well, thanks for being here with us. And Sarah, last but not least, you're fresh in your new role. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm Sarah Gallardo. I'm a email accessibility specialist and an associate principal technical producer at Stitch. So I've been in email for over a decade. I don't want to do the math, and just love email. Love being a part of email. So excited to break into some emails and see what's under the hood, so to speak.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'd love to pass an introduction of sorts over to the chat. I would love to hear from those who are joining us today, where you're tuning in from, who you are, if you work on email, if you're a designer, if you are focused on retention, anything and everything, just so we can get to know you a little bit and not feel like we're speaking into the abyss. And to introduce myself, my name is Naomi. I am a massive email geek, similar to all those on the panel today. I've been in email for quite a few years. I work at Customer.io as a product marketer, but I still really am so attached to my old titles of lifecycle marketer, and I'm not giving that up. So that's me, and I'm excited to be here today. So what are we doing today? We've done welcome and introductions. Shakuri has asked in the chat, what are you sipping on? This is Inbox on the Rocks. Unfortunately for me, it's 11 a.m. and I'm sure it's 5 o'clock somewhere, but I am drinking tea today. And I might be tempted halfway through if we see some tough emails to whip open a drink of sorts, but tea is it for me. Would love to hear from those in the chat what you're drinking. And what we're going to do today is go through a wide variety of emails. We're going to talk about the design of them, the data accessibility, is it life cycle? Then I have some quick shots and big thoughts to kind of round this out today and takeaways. So before I share a couple of emails, this is what I want to hear from the panelists. when I bring up an email and we start to look at it, we think about the brand, we think about the design, we look at it for its copy and content. I want to see if it's using data and talk about, can we hypothetically assume that it's using any customer data for segmentation? So we can debate that if it's unclear. I'd love to talk about the design. Do we feel like there's any improvements that could take place? Constructive improvements, of course. Do we love the design of it? Accessibility, this is a big one, right? There's no point in sending out emails if they're not going to reach your audience. So we'll go through some QA tools. We'll emulate dark mode. We'll turn off images to see what the alt text looks like and just ensure that the email is potentially accessible. And then this is one we're going to have to put kind of our creative thinking caps on. Is it lifecycle? Do we think this email has a place in the user journey at some point? So again, we can debate this if we want to, but I'm excited. With that, let me share my screen. Now, first up, we have a community submission. I will be sharing an image of it. We don't have the code for it, but I'm still excited nonetheless to talk about it. So this is an email from Boveda. If anybody knows this brand, please correct me. I'm pretty sure I have late onset adult dyslexia with the way my pronunciation sometimes is. But it looks like this brand is maybe like a cigar storage company. Again, if you know what this is, please correct me. And we kind of have this like introductory to storage email. I'm curious if we think the design of this email is good. Initial thoughts? Anyone wants to jump in from our panelists here? Would love to hear your first thoughts on the layout of this email, the design, or the copy and content. Yeah, Leanna.
I haven't even read the copy yet. And I'm like, when you have body copy longer than a couple sentences, please left align it so we can read it a little easier.
Yeah.
I love personally, like I love a left align. I read it so much clearer. I don't think I struggle with center align, but I certainly appreciate left align a lot more than center align. I feel like I'm reading like a haiku poem or like an ode when it's center aligned.
I mean, I'll say it's a pretty email. The product shots are gorgeous. They definitely did a good job with that. I think the thing that is internally like making my spidey senses tingle in a bad way is that CTA. They have that really nice green color in the logo that they could absolutely make that CTA pop and make it actually look
yeah.
instead it's just like buried in there. Or even if they took some of that like wooded brown color, anything is better than that weird off brown. Not to be negative, I don't want to be negative, but I think you could absolutely make that CTA stand out. We want the CTAs to stand out. We want people to click.
Yeah.
I'll say that. But I do like the text in the CTA. They're actually, it's not shop now.
Yeah, that's true.
I do wonder about the level of contrast also on that CTA, because for me, the colors vibrate a little bit. I'd love to see a higher contrast on that CTA button.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see like I don't know what we call this color, like a ocean blue or like a teal almost. I would love the like blue to be the background color. I feel like that would be a great pop, as you mentioned, Sarah.
I think the thing that really stands out for me, if you scroll to the top, is it's odd to say free shipping, but only if you spend a certain amount of money. That's almost like a reverse value prop for me. That's where I went immediately. Again, in the spirit of being positive, this whole email kind of looks to me like a piece of AI generated content.
Hot take.
And also the copy, if you look at the copy closely, it's like an LLM is trying to reason with itself about what the product is.
Gentle disagree.
Okay. That's great. Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Dylan.
No, those are the two things that really caught my eye here.
I was like waiting to talk about the copy. I was wondering myself, I was like, is this ChatGPT? And I don't think it is, even though we have those like question answer setups. And I think that's because there's this weird syntax, but it's consistent throughout. And it really reaches a peak at the last sentence, which is a system that requires no work on your part, parenthetical, huge amount of work that you have to do and like lifelong commitment. So I feel like there's a way to change the order of these things and just start with when you treat yourself to auto replenish, your Boveda humidor keeps your cigars perfect their entire life, for your entire life, whether that's shortened by smoking or not.
You know what's interesting now that we're looking at the copy? Does this email say the word cigar anywhere on it?
Oh, no. Yes, in the last sentence right there. Easy cigar care. But yeah, good point.
Easy cigar care.
And I guess you could tell this is not AI 100% because there's no M dashes, which is like part of the tell.
I feel like whenever I will say, if I was a cigar smoker and like had a big passion for collecting cigars and using them, or if I had someone in my family that was like a big lover of cigars, I actually feel like the image of the box would be what sells me over any of the copy. Sorry, Leanna. Words would do nothing for me here.
For real, yeah. You could do both.
So in that case,
benefits too.
Yeah, like I don't normally love to advocate for like an image focused email because I'm like, wait, but if the images don't load, you'll never see anything. But in this case, I'm like, I think images would do way more selling than any words would.
If I could rebuild this email, I would have a really great image, and then your H1 is some sort of value prop of Boveda cigars and Boveda last twice as long or say 3 times as fresh, right? Like some sort of metric there. And then I think those two things would go nicely.
Yeah. Instead of like perfect storage awaits, make it the key focus that it's like a dehumidifier of sorts for your cigars.
Yeah, more about why it's perfect, not that it's just perfect.
Yeah.
Which they talk about in the body copy, but yeah, that perfect is like that umbrella term where we've zoomed out so far that it could mean different things to different people. And so if we can be crystal clear, like if you already have cigar storage and it has been inconsistent, or you've like dried out some cigars and you're really disappointed about it, like these are your possessions, your prized possessions, keep them perfect with this thing in this way.
Yeah. Yeah. Overall, despite our critical views, I feel like this is like a fine email. Like it's introducing a product, it's got a singular focus. It feels like somewhat easy to digest aside from maybe the length of the body copy, and it's not muddled with like a ton of content. Like I do see quite a few e-commerce brands that are like, if we don't feature every single one of our products, we will die. And this one doesn't do that. This one feels like simple, easy to digest, and I do really like the imagery. I think it's
quality
I
imagery.
want to get into cigars. Yeah. Okay, with that being said,
text does it well.
I know it's hard to not be able to see what the email looks like without the images, but sometimes ignorance is bliss. And so that's what we will be thinking about now. Okay, so let's jump into this email here. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit. This is an email from, I'm not sharing my screen. I got to switch tabs every time I want to. Hold on. Everybody's on the spot. Share screen. And here we go. Isn't that lovely? Okay, so we've got this email from Bitly. Is anyone like really familiar with Bitly? Dylan, give us a 1-sentence recap of what they are.
I'll tell you, I use Bitly twice a year, once to generate it's a link shortener, right? So instead of sharing like a really long URL, you can generate a short one. And then if you pay premium features, you can even name it. You can also generate URL codes with it. Or not URL, QR codes.
QR codes. Okay. I do love a QR code generator. So this could be a good tool for me. So it looks like, again, I'm really guessing here. It looks like this is maybe some kind of email as part of the customer lifecycle introducing what Bitly is, which is a question that people in Idaho have been asking by the looks of it. And they're bringing that in through this Google Trends map. It's then going on to say people that use Bitly underutilize their account, which is fair. I kind of like that, where they're like, hey, you should maybe be using your account a little bit more. Maybe they're similar to you, Dylan, where they're only using it twice a year. They've got some links in here, case studies. It seems like 5 awesome brands who are kicking butt with Bitly. So that's great. If I want to be inspired, I do love feeling inspired by others. And then the main CTA, which is create a link. Now I'm going to run some like basic QA stuff here before we start talking about what this email is. We'll block images. I love the alt text. That's fantastic that the alt text is describing what the image is from Google Trends. So that's good. And there's not really that many other images in here. So I'm not seeing the lack of images be a super large impactful issue with this email. So let's turn these back on. Let's do a forced dark mode. Feels fine. I'm personally feeling fine with the state of this dark mode email, nothing crazy. Let's go back to light mode because why not? Some other black and white feels fine. Although I guess that's tough. I don't actually know what state is meant to be blue. But if I knew where Idaho was on a map, I would maybe know that.
Use of color.
Oh yeah, use of color. Okay. Don't mind it, don't mind it. Do we want to see on mobile? Let's maybe do iPhone 14. Fine, I feel like content scales down pretty good, which is the benefit of live text. When we use live text, it scales down pretty good. So I don't mind that. First pieces of feedback. How do we feel about the use of data? Good?
Bad.
Bad?
I mean, the diagram
Oh,
is
yeah.
inaccessible because they're using color to show you what is working and what is not working. So that is an automatic WCAG failure. You also, sorry.
That's fine. No, this is great. Keep it going.
And the alt text is good. And I'm kind of on the fence because the alt text doesn't say Idaho is blue, wondering what I can do with Bitly. It does kind of talk about it in the next sentence. So I don't know how much it's like the worst. And it's also kind of a silly graphic. It's not like it's really giving you any like real information. But I don't know. I don't like it. I pulled the code on this when I was looking at it, and there's one weird accessibility thing in here that I just wanted to call out because I'm just curious about it. The list items have what is it, an ARIA level on them, which is really weird. Not an attribute I normally use, and doesn't really make sense in that context. And they were all ARIA level 1, so it didn't even really make sense. I'm assuming this was maybe done with some sort of like WYSIWYG or something that has that set up in that way, but it was interesting. I mean, on to the good things. Paragraph tags, heading tags, actual alt text in linked images. This is like all great stuff. So I don't want to be totally negative about it, but I do think, there's a couple of things that I'm kind of, why did you do that?
What is the impact of that ARIA label? Like for people like me that should know, to be honest, because I work for a code editor. For people like me that don't necessarily know the impact when you say, hey, that list has an ARIA label on it, and that's not great. Why?
Yeah, so this is ARIA level, not ARIA label.
ARIA,
And usually
ARIA
it's
level. Okay.
yeah, and usually it's paired with a role heading. So if for whatever reason you weren't able to use a heading tag, you would use the role heading and the ARIA level to define like what those heading levels are. And so it's weird because they don't have the role heading in there, and they're also not headings. So it feels like a mistake. I don't think it's going to really impact anyone because it doesn't have the role heading. None of those are going to show up as headings. So it's just weird. I don't know.
No, it's a good piece of knowledge to learn more about, to be honest. Now, Dylan, as you are involved in life cycle and retention, what are your first thoughts on this email? What do you think?
My take here is like the life cycle team compromise with
Mhm.
the brand marketing team. And we're like, if you're going to send a
Mm.
weird brand email, you at least have to put an actionable piece of data so that users know
Mm.
that they can engage more with the product. That's like
Mm.
the only way that I can square having that banner at the very top, which I think is actually really clever and a cool way to show like, hey, you have more uses go into the
Mhm.
product. And maybe a company like Bitly is big enough that I would assume that they've tested enough of these emails to know like, hey, we can actually like do this irreverent style. And then this drives usage as long as we put this type of banner and call to action at the bottom of the email. So I'll give them credit.
Mm.
And like maybe
Yeah.
they've tested into this strategy and like, hey, this actually works for us. And they're just rolling with it.
Yeah. I'm also curious if this is an email specific to those that live in the US. Like,
Mm.
would I get this email as a Canadian? What are people in British Columbia, like my province, asking about Bitly? I'm curious. I'm actually quite curious to know if this is, we know that it is data driven in some capacity with the banner at the top. And I agree. I actually really like that. But I'm also curious if this is like a segmented email based on demographic, like location. If anyone could find the people at Bitly and get the answer, that would be ideal. Jessa or Leanna, any thoughts on the copy, where the CTA is sitting, this like, in the middle?
Overall, I love the tone. I think it's great. If I were to nitpick, this is a struggle that I have with my own copy. I think we need to edit a little bit, maybe take out a couple of the jokes because there's so many parenthetical asides that it's starting to feel like, is this email about the jokes or is it about what we can do with Bitly? So I would probably take out "that's no small potatoes" or call it out in the next line. I do really like the short lines that draw attention down the email because it feels really easy to skim. And then probably the other big change that I would make copy-wise is if it's 5 awesome brands who are kicking butt with Bitly, I don't want 5 awesome brands to be hidden in the middle of the sentence there. And I want the links to be about what we can do. So instead of share like Hot Topic, link use Bitly links to share products on social media like Hot Topic. And then like Hot Topic would be unlinked. And then it could be cool to see, photos of how that looks, but I know we get into some more accessibility issues there if the photos don't render. So I don't mind the CTA being all at the bottom. I think it's skimmable enough and it's bright enough. There's enough contrast that like, okay, now you try, create a link, feels low friction enough for me.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Jessa, any closing thoughts on this email?
I guess, and this is a little nitpicky probably, the top of the email for me, design-wise, feels a little scattered. I think it just has to do with the alignment of the text with the graph and then the Google Trends source text being over to the right. When I first pulled it up, my eye was kind of a little lost as to where to start. So maybe just some minor tweaking, either just by adding a little more negative space between the live copy and the graph copy, or something, experimenting with the layout of that text so that the alignment is not jumping all over.
Yeah, that's fair. I had a similar experience when I opened up this email. I was like, what am I looking at? I first had a very similar thought to what we talked about in the chat here, which is like, is this a political email? And if so, like, what do I need to know about it? And then what is Bitly? Even though I'm pretty sure I knew what Bitly was, I'm like, is it actually a political company I'm not aware of? But I do think this impression is happening because I'm not currently part of the Bitly life cycle. I think if I was an end user and receiving this email as part of maybe a couple others, a welcome email or some other prompts, I'd be well aware of what Bitly was. So in that case, that's a me problem. We've got a question here from Vim, which I think is fitting. Sarah, I'm not sure if you can answer this one. Accessibility question. Why do tools like email and Acid tell us to remove titles?
I'm assuming we're talking about titles on links, and that's because they're not particularly helpful. You should still have a title on your HTML file, but that's usually different. But they tend to not work very well, and they definitely don't really provide additional information for screen reader and other assistive technology users. So that's generally why.
Okay, let's jump to our next email, which of course I've learned I'm going to have to share my screen again. We're going to go to a different tab. I'm probably just doing this completely wrong, but whatever.
I just
Okay.
want to say thank you for keeping us on track, because I know we could all talk about every single email for an entire hour.
I know. Sorry if I'm coming across. I'm like, next, moving on. Okay, we have Claude. I am personally like a Claude super fan. I didn't pick this email, Shakuri did, and I'm really glad she did because I love Claude. I don't know if she knew that about me. I use Claude every day for AI everything. And as I've just wrapped up wedding planning, I did most of my wedding planning in like email communication to my aunt who keeps asking me questions about what the day of time on the ceremony, when does that start? So I use Claude incessantly for work and personal. Nobody can stop me. And I also really love their emails. So this email, thinking about it, what's happening here, your first aha moment with Claude. What are we seeing here? It looks like it's pulling in maybe like a project or a prompt showing off what you can do with Claude. The best part about Claude, when it suddenly clicks and you wonder how you ever worked without it. I've had that moment. I guess this is maybe an email teaching you how to prompt with Claude, which I do feel like everyone deserves like a lesson on, including myself. Chat with Claude is the main CTA. Again, okay, we're being reiterated that this is definitely an email on how to prompt the who, the what, the why, the how. Same CTA again. Team up with Claude Anywhere. Download the app, which I should do. Actually, I don't have the app downloaded. Let's check out some blocking. Okay. No alt text, which I'll ask Sarah and Jessa what your thoughts are on that, aside from this here. Put this back on. Force dark mode. Okay, good to know, good to know. And let's check it out on an iPhone 14 Pro Max. That looks like a tablet. What can we do that's smaller? What about Samsung? Okay. Pretty good. Responsive. We love to see it. Some center align text on mobile. Good to know, good to know. Okay, first thoughts. Go. Anybody?
Instantly, I was like, why is the image cut off? And I didn't know it was an image. So like the
This here.
red top bar and this little weird thing happening, it's not clear that we're looking at an example prompt. And so it's like, why isn't this responding to my screen size? That was my first thought.
What's the first thought?
Because I feel like I've been really grouchy the last few ones. I want to like just immediately say this email was actually amazing from an accessibility standpoint. I was like deeply pleased with almost everything on here. We've got headings, we've got paragraphs, we've got this what are they called, decorative images without alt text, like those icons. Like my notes on this from an accessibility standpoint are so nitpicky minor that like if I was doing an audit, they would be at the very bottom, like here's some things I think you could also do if you care, but it really doesn't matter. Well, I guess I will say the image at the very top. I think the color contrast on the white on coral is kind of not great. I think that that's maybe a little too close. It might just be fine, but I couldn't pull the colors to find it. And then
how do you feel about the decorative images without alt text? Is that like okay?
No, that's good. We want that. Like if each of those icons, like I guess I always ask myself, if I was going to write alt text for those icons, what would it be? And on these kinds of icons where they're just kind of visualizing the text to the right of it, it really shouldn't be anything. It's not telling you additional information. And jumbling it up with like chat icons and weird Tetris icons, like would just be giving the user information that isn't relevant or interesting or useful. So yeah, especially since these are non-linked decorative images, if we linked these images, we'd have a completely different problem. But as long as they're not linked, they're perfect. I love them. Like my only other weird call out is the like social icons on the bottom say like Instagram icon. And I just don't like being that I don't know, redundant about alt text. I think it's kind of silly, but I love this email. I was really, really happy when it came up, and I was like poking around. I'm like, oh my God, they did it. They did it. Like, perfect.
Yeah,
That's
I
good.
too love this email. I'm very happy with it. I was already a Claude super fan, and now when I see their emails land in my inbox, I'm like, wow.
Perfect.
Any other thoughts? Dylan?
I would like this is such a good the challenge for lifecycle, especially for people new in the field, is what is a good product feature activation email? And I think this is a really good example of like what is the key action you want users to do? Submit a
Mm.
query in Claude, but you don't want them to submit any query. You want them to submit a quality query. And this
Mm.
email literally is like steal, reading between lines, like steal this prompt and try it for yourself. And then that is how you'll learn how to get more value out of this product. So it's like perfect. I'm actually hoping someone can send this to me after the call and I can share this with
Yeah, you got it.
yeah, I would love to make this part of some training that we do.
Yeah. Jessa, any thoughts?
I think my only call out would have been the same as Liana's, that initial image. I was a little confused by it being cut off. But otherwise, I feel like this is a really solid email. The design is great. The copy is really straightforward and easy to comprehend. I even love the simplicity of the footer. It's not filled with tiny gobs of tiny text. The unsubscribe is easy to find if you need it. It's a really clean email.
It is interesting, like working in software as a service or just technology in general, when you're building emails and you kind of want some image to make it stand out, but all you have is like words. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like for Claude, all they really have is showing off how to prompt and this like amazing result, which in return is words. So I'm like, oh, this is so hard as a marketer. Like I face this really every day, trying to think of how to create imagery that will capture attention without overwhelming them. And I think my frustration with this image is I just want to fully see what they've written. Like I want to know. I'm like, what are you asking it? Because you're seeing your task is to craft a targeted marketing blank for our Q3 feature release. I'm like, wait, I'm working on a Q3 feature release. What are you prompting it with? I don't care about a recipe. I'm a marketer. So I want them to give me more prompts that I can use.
That's maybe a
way.
nitpick now that I look at the image a little bit more, is that's like seems very targeted to an ICP of marketing.
Yeah.
But then the actual content of the email is more like a personal use case.
Yeah.
It actually feels like a missed opportunity to have the image be more personalized to the content,
Such a
or
good
have
point.
the content of the email be more personalized to the image.
Yeah. I'm like, use the data you have on me and make it better. Like when companies are like, do you want to share your data? I'm like, please, I'd love to give you all my data so that the marketing I get in return is like as personal as possible. My parents hate that about me. They're like, don't share your data, Naomi. People are going to steal it. I'm like, for what? Okay, that aside, let's move on to the next email. So I'm disabling screen sharing and we're going back. What do we got here? Okay. We have an email. This is a community submission. So someone has submitted this and they could be in the room with us. Okay. Just as a forewarning, Liana. This is an email from Mad Muscles. We can see that they are bringing in first name. So there's some use of data there. We're seeing some use of timestamps, which appears to be maybe like a sign up day. It's been 8 days since your personalized plan was created. In those 8 days, you could have already finished at least 3 workouts. They're bringing in some workouts. This must be like a fitness company. Instead of wondering what if, you could be saying, I can't believe I'm already seeing changes. I love that in 3 workouts, you could see major changes. I might sign up to Mad Muscles. Unlock my full plan. I wonder what that means. Let's check it out. Let's block some images. Okay, day 1, day 2, day 3. Nice and bright. Call to action. Let's turn this back on. Let's do forced dark mode. Pretty good. Pretty good, I would say. Brian, personal trainer, signing off. He's online. Love that little addition. Let's go back to light mode and let's check out. Yes, okay. We're seeing the columns stack. Interesting that like the opt-out is at the top. I have not seen that as much. Okay, first thoughts. What do we think of Mad Muscles?
What's going on with the images? Is it blurry for everybody else?
Yes, yes. So I had the exact same question. They are blurry images. I think is meant to be on purpose. It's saying like you could have already finished your workouts.
Yeah, I was wondering if they're blurry because they would be customized based on the person receiving it. So I wondered if they were placeholders or if they were intentionally blurred to obscure.
I think they're intentionally blurred, but I think I would maybe be even more inclined to unlock my full plan if they were unblurred.
Yeah,
If they were crystal clear.
you want to see what you're missing out on.
Yeah.
Because this is like a paywall technique, basically, and it only
Mhm.
works if you actually see what you partially the benefit you would have gotten. Because it's all obscured. It's like, well, I can't miss what I don't know. I never got,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And Joe brings up a really good point in chat where getting people to start a workout habit is already so emotionally charged. And this seems to be going to people who haven't done anything yet. And so saying you could have already finished at least 3 workouts might just heap more guilt on top. And I'm wondering if there's a way to flip it into like, look what's waiting for you. You could see results just 3 days from now. Like, let's not make them feel worse about not doing anything for the past 8 days.
Yeah. Like I'm laughing, Joe, at your comment. If I got this email, I'd feel attacked.
Yeah. And then with another very small nitpick for me is it's been 8 days since your personalized plan was created. We end with that passive voice, which instantly makes me feel like it's much less personal. Right. So it's been 8 days since we personalized your plan, or we created, or you created your personalized plan. Something like that.
I wonder, this is me just like trying to envision how this life cycle or how this email is put into the life cycle, but I wonder if it's like there's a free offering as of getting your personalized plan and then you're given it. And if you don't check out or purchase it in that moment, you get like kind of these series of emails afterwards to try and get you to purchase it. I'm assuming that's how the life cycle goes.
I think there's a missed opportunity here. Can you go down to the bottom? Just scroll. Like the email, like they're positioning Brian as your coach. This could also be coming from Brian and be like much more positive to the chat of like, hey, we developed your plan. Here are the workouts. I'd love to see you start doing them, whatever, right? Instead, it's like, who is Brian? He's kind of yelling at me, but he's also not telling me what I should be doing. I don't know if that's like the type of workout coach I want here.
Yeah, we didn't get a subject line from them, and I'm also not sure if it comes directly from Brian, but I think that's a really good shout. Okay, let's go back to it here. On the preview. Yeah, it's very interesting. I am curious how it performs, and I mean, maybe it's the whole tone of the brand too. Like more of like the, I guess it is called Mad Muscle, isn't it? Like maybe they do want to attack people a little bit. He wants you to get mad. There you go. Yeah, Shikari in the comments here.
The design feels very like GNC nutrition, like let's get swole.
Yeah. Body
We can tell that the people behind the blurry images are very hot. We can see that. They're also all the same, man.
In that case, this email could be really hit the nail on the head, or whatever the saying is. Like this could be exactly the tone and the multiple question marks. Like maybe the energy is exactly what the end user signed up to receive.
Right. I wonder if we're talking about potential, this would be more complexity to add with data, but like, you know, if they're segmenting at the beginning of the flow by how much experience someone has, and they're like just getting started, maybe they get a gentler version of this email with a lower friction CTA that's like, here's one workout that you can do this week. We're cheering you on. And this is for like the person who has worked out for years and is just getting back into it and needs that kick in the butt, or has explicitly said, I am more motivated by people being mean to me.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we'll never know unless Brian is in the comments with us. But yeah, this was a fun email to audit. Let's jump into another. What do we got next? We have this email. Charity water. Okay. I'm actually not sure what charity water is, but I'm about to find out. Who doesn't love a good story? Okay. Fun hero at Charity Water. We tell them all the time. Most often, they're stories of people, something to do with clean water, which is very good. Inspiring stories. We decided it was time to celebrate. We're sharing some of our favorite supporter stories. We've got a video in here. Okay, it does link out, which is good. This is a very deceiving little image. I thought for a second that was a video embedded in the email, and I was going to say no. Give today. Pretty simple footer. Love that. This seems it maybe more of like a non-profit than a SaaS company, but I guess it could also be a SaaS company. Let's block these images. Oh, where'd she go? So that's fun. Okay, some alt text there. Goodbye footer content. Fine. Let's turn these images back on. I guess that's a background image, isn't it? Block some styles. Okay, nothing happening there. Let's go into force dark mode. Okay. Very interesting. Light mode. Let's check it on iPhone 15. Responsive live text. Something crazy is happening here where the background on the left-hand side has kind of disappeared in a way. I don't know what's going on there, but that's interesting. Okay, first thoughts. Charity water, nonprofit sharing donor stories is what I'm gathering. I'll speak at once. Sarah, how do you feel about the accessibility of this email? You're an easy pick.
This was a lot of text. I think that a lot of our folks with low vision and dyslexia and ADHD are going to see that and milk right out of it. Maybe they'll scroll long enough to watch the video, like scroll down to get to the video. But it's kind of a lot. I do like that the text blocks are in paragraph tags. That's great. There is alt text, which is something. But I don't know, it just seems like a lot. Also, I hate being this person, but they are using some kind of VML in here too. So so I'm not going to be a fan of that automatically.
And for those in the audience that are like, I don't know that acronym, what's the VML for Dummies summary? I'm a dummy.
So we use VML, vector markup language, is a language that was created by Microsoft for Microsoft products, but in Outlook, using screen readers, it actually causes horrible experiences for Outlook users. So I tend to tell people not to use it or to use it very sparingly. A lot of times it'll duplicate all of the content contained within it. So this giant block of text could be read twice, and nobody's got time for that.
Thank you for that. I know today I learned TIL. Okay, some other thoughts on this email. Leanna, how do you feel about the words?
I have thoughts. Did we see whether who doesn't love a good story shows up when all images are broken? Is that actually live text?
Well,
it is
yes,
not live.
It is. Well,
oh,
there's
okay.
It's it's here, but it's black. The
Yeah.
font is dark.
I can't see it.
I can't see it.
Also,
yeah.
like if you miss that, I see this a lot with like conversations between the subject line and the body text of an email where people assume people are remembering the subject line as they enter the email. No, we all have such short attention spans. So the
Mhm.
first sentence ends up sounding like, at Charity Water, we tell them all the time. Most times, like what? Who? Tell who? What? Tell what? Who? And so who's there? We have 2 days in a row. And then generally, I think like nonprofits test emails like this all the time. So they may well have found that this works. But I would say there's a little bit of a we problem. If you circle the we at our and us in the copy, it's a lot about us when it's supposed to be about generosity of donors.
Mhm.
So, you know.
Always a good reminder. Yeah.
And then I think the CTA Give Today, again, probably something that they've tested. Maybe it's what works really well, but you could try something more specific, give what you can, give creatively, which is what this email seems to be about. Like you've left your house, you've given all these interesting things you didn't know you could leave to charity. Like what can you give? Or find new ways to give could be an interesting CTA to test.
So Shakari's just sent me a recap of what Charity Water is, and now we should all feel horrible about critiquing their email. But Charity Water is a nonprofit organization bringing clean and safe drinking water to people in developing countries. They fund community-owned water projects and partner with local teams to ensure long-term sustainability. 100% of public donations go directly to water solutions. So with that, I don't think we need to critique them anymore. They can continue sending whatever emails they want. If it drives donations, great. But before I actually close this out, Jessa, Dylan, any recommendations or things you noted about this email?
I have to hope they've tested and this is the best way to elicit donations. But the real takeaway from this email is we're going to match donations up to 25K. And that gets lost at the very bottom. And I wonder if you just like flip the order and then still do the storytelling thing, you could probably make it work. It sounds like my feeling is someone decided this was the way we were going to do this email and they just got wedded to that approach. When in actuality, there's some other ways to structure this content. So the takeaway is much more clear. But I assume that they like test a lot and they know that the longer storytelling elicits more donations.
Did we determine whether or not the video was clickable or?
It is clickable and it links out to like it hosted. Yeah.
I almost would like to see the video up higher in the email. The header is really, really simple, the header image.
And so big.
It's very large and very simple. I almost wonder if there was like a thumbnail of the video to indicate what you were going to find later on in the email, or just finding a way to shift that story up higher for visual interest to keep people reading.
That's a great suggestion. That would be an interesting one for them to test. What does the placement of a video in an email result in, I guess. So that was good. Hopefully, if your email was one that was shared, you are okay with that and you're feeling fine about the rest of your day. You're all doing a great job if you're one of the marketers here. Let's get back into our quick shots and big thoughts to round this out. So it's going to be pretty much a rapid fire round of your opinions on some of these topics. I want to start off with subject lines. Clever subject lines or clear subject lines? I have like a really strong opinion about this, but I'll let you all answer first. Leanna, our copywriter, in question here. What are your thoughts?
I want to say clever. I have to say clear. I probably will say short. But clear doesn't mean that you can't have a curiosity loop or something that makes you want to open the email, right? The subject line's one job is to get the email opened. So I think there are ways to be clear while also piquing curiosity.
Love that. Dylan, thoughts on this one?
Test and find out. Each brand is different.
Fine answer. Jessa.
I'd say same along the lines of Dylan. It can really depend on the persona for your brand and what people expect coming from you and your typical messaging style.
And Sarah?
Yeah, I'll agree. I think testing is important, but I also like to say clarity is kindness. And I think clarity tends to win, just because I think you're building up that relationship of what I'm telling you this is going to be and what this is going to be are generally the same or on the same level. I think that that's just a good way to build a relationship.
Now, emojis. We are asking a question of like iconic or ick, but I would like to reword this of like, how many emojis is too many emojis? You have to give me a number.
I was going to say, I mean, I think you should go fewer because of accessibility. I think it's really important to read what that emoji actually means and what is going to be read out by a screen reader or other AT, because a lot of times they're really long and the kind of instant visual of dot 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 just doesn't come across when it's like grimacing face and astonished face. Like it just, so I say scale back.
Any other crazy thoughts on this one?
ChatGPT loves emoji, and so if you have
Yeah.
an emoji as like a bullet point or an emoji at the end of every sentence, it's one of the tells. And so
Yeah.
I'm also leaning toward fewer.
Yeah. That is very fair. I'm going to skip over and do like a hot topic here. What's one email trend we all need to let go of? And you can take like 1 second to think about this if you need it.
Image-based, image-based email, 100%. I want to never see another image-based email. That'd be great.
Should have never been a trend in the first place.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Sending lots of emails.
Yeah. I once had a VP of marketing make me do a 30 days of 30 emails test where I sent one email every single day for 30 days and I died inside. And yeah, that also should never have been a trend.
What was the result of the test? Because I've run that test as well.
So the goal of this entire test was to see if like an increase in presence in one's inbox resulted in like larger feature activation or usage of the tool. And what we ended up finding was it was like a 7 emails over a 30-day period versus the 30 days of 30 emails. And there was no increase in conversion rate between the two variants, but we had a way higher unsubscribe rate for those that were receiving 30 emails. And the argument that we ended up making was just that if we send 30 emails over a 30-day period, we have a much smaller audience to upsell in the future or communicate new feature releases with or build relationships with for things like case studies. So in a way, it was kind of like disappointing because I was like, surely there would be an increase in feature activation, even though I really don't want to do this test in the first place. But it was good that we also looked at unsubscribe rate as like a metric to measure.
Mm-hmm.
We did the same test with an e-commerce brand that I used to be a part owner of. And even though I was writing the 30 emails and it was like 30 days of ways to take better care of your pets, and they were like, you know, text only, trying to be helpful, very minimal calls to action, if any. Sometimes I would hide it in the footer, you know. They also did not improve conversions. And I was like, why did I spend all this time? I don't think we saw increased unsubscribes, but it didn't move the needle on revenue. So.
Yeah, it's a good learning for everyone. More emails is not always a great idea. So with that being said, I will close this out. We're coming up on time here. I want to thank the panelists for joining me today. This was really fun. I appreciate all of the hot takes and looking at the emails together. And I also liked that we agreed on most things and there weren't as many debates as I was mentally preparing myself for. And for those in the audience that stuck around, really appreciate you sitting with us. If you liked this webinar and you want to see more in advance, please let us know by replying to one of the post-event emails where we'll send the recording. We want to make this into more of a frequent cadence. And for anyone that was curious where we were hosting the emails today, those were all hosted in Design Studio, which is inside of Customer.io. Comes with the QA suite, so you can block your images and check your emulated dark mode and all those fun things. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and I hope everyone has an amazing weekend. Shakuri, I will pass it to you in the back end here to close us out, whether that means ending the event or turning off recording. Pass it to you. I don't know what to do.